Hello, and welcome to our second episode of Debunking Myths and Ending Stigmas. Make sure you stick around until the end because we will play a game of Say It Out Loud. I am Miranda Jones. I'm the marketing manager for NAMI, Tennessee. And for Jazz Appreciation Month, I am sitting here with jazz singer Clare Donohue. Clare, hello, and thank you for joining us today.
Hello, it's such a pleasure. Thank you.
So, Claire, can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself? What got you into playing music and what makes you so passionate about mental health?
Well, my name is Clare Veronica Donohue, and I've spent my life in the arts and in education as an elementary school teacher. So behavior has always been a passion of mine. But I remember being 4 years old and harmonizing to TV commercials. Music was all over my house. My brother played the drums and the marimba, and my sister played the piano. My father was a great lover of all kinds of music. My mother loved opera and Nat King Cole. Mental health has been a hot topic since COVID, as you all know. I don't have to tell you this, because it imposed upon the world what has once only been imposed upon a stigmatized population: isolation. And isolation compounds every problem. So I felt I had a lot to contribute because of my behaviorist methodologies with children and things that I've learned with children. And we're all really about 12 years old.
I can agree with that. Well, thank you. So do you mind telling me, and again, you don't have to share anything you don't want to, is there anything specifically that you have struggled with yourself or that maybe a close family member has struggled and that you've experienced with them?
Oh, sure. I was hospitalized many times in my life. First for an eating disorder. So to just let you know, I am duly diagnosed with an eating disorder, which was very tough because back in the, I'll be 60 years old in July, and back in the day when you were diagnosed, there were drugs like Depakote out, which if you tried Depakote, you gained 40 pounds in the first 3 or 4 months. It was
Yeah,
that's the way it was. The drugs then were about keeping people down, keeping people manageable, and not doing anything crazy. So having an eating disorder, there was no way I was going to even participate in taking that.
right.
So I'm also 5 feet tall. So for me to put on that kind of weight, I have a terrible back. I had a terrible back when I was 17. It's not because of age. I just can't carry that kind of weight and do a job running after elementary school teachers, like after elementary school children. It compounds the problem. Why I mentioned about my hospitalizations is usually when you're in the hospital, you listen to stories, you go through many group therapy and sharing. And I have never been with a lot of people who've had serious mental illness that didn't have very seriously screwed up family stories. There always
Yeah.
seemed to be a pattern of addiction going on. It was almost as if this bipolar behavior was learned from a Jekyll Hyde addict type
Yeah.
situation. And I was a girl. Girls didn't do drugs and alcohol then, but the kitchen and eating, you can abuse sort of that. It was legal. I didn't get in any trouble, and I was
Yeah.
doing all sorts of crazy, screwed up things around food.
You look great. I think that, I never would have guessed that you ever struggled with an eating disorder. And even for your age, I never would have guessed that you were even close near that. So
Thank you.
you seem like you're doing very well. So I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. And, hopefully this just helps other people to realize that recovery is possible, no matter how many different things that you might be struggling with.
The I sent you 2 songs, and one of them is Shelter, and that was on my last CD. And Shelter is the story of a gentleman who is bipolar. He's a very famous, pretty famous uh, studio guitar player in New York. And Joel, high functioning, brilliant, had an altercation with somebody and got thrown out of his apartment. And he wrote this song, Shelter, after finding shelter because he was literally sleeping on the street over his guitar so it wouldn't be stolen in his amp. So it's a really beautiful song, and it's about thanking God for shelter, which is a big issue for a lot of people.
We will show that video right now.
from the storm, to shelter where I'm safe and warm and rested. Oh Lord, lead the way to shelter. Hear me pray for the way to my shelter, weary, so much on my mind I'm weary. Will I never find that one place where I can lay down in shelter? Hear me pray for the way to my shelter.
So, Claire, other than music, can you tell us some therapies or some places that you have been that have really helped you through some of your difficult times?
Ah, the first place I ever went to was St. Vincent's and Harrison. It was really for an eating disorder, but it was a tremendously fantastic place. I think a lot of people are afraid, at least they were in my time, and people don't want to go check themselves in somewhere. They don't want to lock themselves up. People want to struggle and suffer outside, but it is a very unique opportunity to shut off the world for a bit and focus on yourself. And that particular place had art, music, dance therapy. At a time, somebody donated like $6 million to a 12-bed unit. And I got in. It was amazing. And my insurance covered it. And I was clean for 10 years after that. I mean, I had a couple of setbacks, but it set the stage for deep, deep recovery for me.
I'm glad that you found that place and that it helped you with your recovery, and I really hope to see more.
What was really wonderful about that was long before they came with this 30-day in, 30-day out. I was there 6 months. You know, when you have an addiction, I was struggling with that 11 years. Change is absolutely possible, but it is incredibly hard. The human mind and body will do everything it can to get back to homeostasis. So, you know, it's absolutely possible, but you got to want it with everything. You got to want peace and want health with everything you've got.
Yeah, unfortunately, someone can't force you to do it. You have to be in the right mindset of wanting it and realizing that it's more important.
When I was in Virginia during COVID, they had a place which was pretty novel where you can check in if you have a mental health. It's not a hospital. You can check into and get like anywhere from 3 days to 5-day respite care. And it kind of has couches, journaling. It would be a real help to people before critical care comes in and all that scary stuff, you know, where the cops are there. And, you know, you just need to be around your tribe. You need to be around your people who you can be yourself, even if that self gets a little out there and you're accepted. With larger than life feelings, which a lot of us have often. A lot of us are performers. We have very large, you know, to the nth power feelings. And that's scary to a lot of people. But we're also people that change things and get things done in the world, you know, and we look at things differently.
Yeah, there's I'm trying to remember who it says it, but there's a quote that says, if you're crazy enough to think you can change the world, you can. Is that Steve Jobs? I can't
Steve
remember
Jobs did to the crazy ones. That's his quote, to the crazy ones. Because people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones that often do. Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
You just don't see limits where everybody else sees limits. Also, a lot of people, I mean, J.K. Rowling, when she wrote her book, she had nothing to lose. You hope that that can change things. You don't mind being the example because you often are.
Well, thank you very much for that. If you are ready, we're going to play a game of Say It Out Loud. So this is actually a game from NAMI, NAMI National. So I'm going to ask you a question. It typically has to do something with mental health. And then you will give the answer. And then for viewers, you are welcome to leave your comment or your answers down in the comments below as well. Beach or mountains?
Oh, both.
That is a hard one.
I
Definitely a
had to
hard
pick
one.
one, I would say mountains first.
For the beach, would you prefer a lake or the ocean?
Oh, beach, it would be the ocean for sure.
The ocean. Where do you find joy?
Walking in nature, any kind of nature. My dog Chet, being with animals too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Music,
I would agree.
yeah.
Oh, you said
Music,
music too?
music, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is jazz your favorite type of music?
It is now. It is now,
Okay.
but I've always liked pop. I've now that I've been in the South 10 years, I've really learned to love. I mean, I do a Patsy Cline show, so I've really come to love a lot of country. Yeah.
Yes, I love that old school country, the Patsy Cline, Merle Haggard, Johnny Cash. I grew up
Johnny
on
Cash.
that stuff, so
Yeah. Oh
yeah.
my God. I love it.
What is your favorite thing about yourself?
My kindness. I think it's been there since I was a kid. And my ability to connect to people, all kinds of people, no matter who you are. I'm a bridge builder. I find the commonality, but mostly having good manners and being kind has got me more places than my talent, my intelligence. People understand that and they can feel that from you, and they respect it and they feel safe. They don't feel threatened.
What do you do when you need to feel most like yourself?
Some of the most important practices for me are yoga for my body and gratitude, making a gratitude list. That's for my attitude. When my attitude gets out of whack, and that could be dangerous because my moods are large, I have to go back to gratitude and be grateful for everything from clean water, electricity, a good bed, because 50% of the world doesn't have that. And I have to remember that everything else is a gift. So I think connecting, doing yoga centers me, gratitude, music, and my dog walking in nature always grounds me to, and surrounding myself with simple beauty. Those are really key things for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Me and my husband both, we practice a lot of gratitude and we notice a difference, if we start to fall off and kind of forget for even just a day or two, we'll notice a shift in our attitudes.
It's so true. That's very true. Yeah.
Okay. So when it comes to like mental health stigmas, what is something that really makes you cringe?
What makes me cringe is when intelligent people don't understand. The golden rule is treat others as you want to be treated. I don't like it when people judge or when people gossip, and I hear people talking about conditions that they couldn't possibly endure. They don't know the day in, day out of living with a disability, or and that bothers me, trite comments about a condition that is debilitating, isolating. Today it's better than ever. I remember walking into Cornell Medical Center. I qualified for a 5-year longitudinal study for free therapy while I was going to college. And this was prior to my even getting a diagnosis. So things were going on and I just didn't understand. And I needed help. And I qualified for this 5-year longitudinal study. When you walked into Cornell Medical Center, it's one of the oldest mental health institutions in the world, for sure in the country. You're walking down these crickety old floors, and there is a whole display of the shackles and chains that they put people who had mental health problems and mental illness back in the day. It was so horrifying to me, but I remember saying to a friend of mine, look what we have to be thankful for, that we were born at this time. You can be yourself, and they're seeing the genius of alternative thinking and alternative mind.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean we have come a long way in people trying to be more understanding of things that they don't have experience with. Yeah, it makes me cringe when I see people talking about things and saying, "Oh, just they need to just get over it," or they need to just think positive and be happy. And it's really it's not that simple. And my response is always, "I'm glad that you don't understand." Because they don't realize how fortunate they are that they don't understand the
Right.
struggles. All right, we'll do one more. So, how easy is it for you to open up to others?
Only my rage is better now. I was always a person that was willing to talk about the things nobody was ever willing to. I think that's why I am an entertainer. And I went to, Purchase College, which is where the arts and the humanities meet. I was always going to be a voice for suffering of some sort. That was always my mission, to be that kind of social reformer. So it's and the way to do that is to connect with people, is to really and you have to let people in. Even when am a teacher, and I would get kids that came from Jerusalem to a school when I was working and they had been through a bombing. They would bring them into my room. I'd sit down, I'd color with these kids, and I'd start telling them about my niece and a problem I was going through and what was going on in my life. And pretty soon that kid was telling me their problems. Because we were sharing, we were connecting. The common struggle of humanity, the common problems we all have, our worries, our fears. And when you're able to share that, a lot of times people with mental illness, the only time they ever saw each other was when they were at their worst, drugged up in a hospital. Who could possibly sit down and say, how is Lamictal working for you? Do you have these signs? You couldn't have intelligent discussions. It was too stigmatized. And you couldn't share information. You couldn't network as a mentally ill person. It was like you had to hide it. And there's a saying in recovery, you're only as sick as your secrets. Hiding it just makes you sicker. It's like the homeless person who can't get an address, so they can't get anything, any other stabilizing factors in their life, and everything just melts on top of that. Try and be brief.
Yeah, I saw a tip, and I guess I do this myself without even realizing it. But it was pointed out, when you really know somebody is struggling, you say, "How are you?" And of course, most people just say fine, because they either don't want to share or assume that you don't care. And so instead, this is how my week has been. This is something that I've been struggling with lately. How are you? And once you open up, it kind of shows them that you are ready to have a deeper conversation. And then that's reciprocation too. Once you share, they're more likely to open up and share themselves. We're going to show a second song. Can you tell us the title and maybe just a little bit about it?
It might have been Sunday in Georgia, and it was the story of me leaving Florida. It was also to help a friend too who was struggling. She had traumatic brain injury, and together we shared a house in a rural place, and it was beautiful. And it was life changing actually, because I was, as usual, when you go to help somebody else, your life. That's kind of like a cardinal rule in life. Where is my little thing? I wrote these little things. If you want your dreams to come true, help somebody else make their dreams come true. And it really, really works. It's really something. So my life kind of in my singing took off amazingly after that. I was a bigger fish in a small pond, and it was beautiful. It just changed everything. It was amazing. The things you think that come as a devastating blow and you have to leave everything. When you're willing to do something like that, life changes miraculously. And I let go. I no longer cared about it being about me. I was now a devoted person to helping others and relieving suffering in others. And then everything just started to flow, like the world kind of recognizes that and acknowledges that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us. So
Sure.
We will view that now.
Loaded my car up with my books and music, forgetting warm clothes and sensible shoes. Headed for somewhere I could have a garden, sing my own music for once. Love from afar is bittersweet and lonely.
All right, so Claire, before we go, where can people find you if they wanted to learn more about your story or if they even wanted to collaborate with you?
Wonderful. I'm so glad you asked. Here's my signs.
Oh, nice, another sign, good.
This is how I support myself. My CD that I made in Chattanooga, Tennessee, with all Tennessee musicians is called Melancholy Serenader, because I had come out of a terrible depression, and this was amazing. And that's where
Yeah.
Shelter, Joel Fass's song Shelter is on, and Sunday in Georgia is on that, and two of Dolph Castellano, who is a major jazz player, two of his songs are on it. And then I have this one, my email.
Did you
my
make
phone.
these signs just for this?
I made these signs just for this, so I was
Oh,
prepared. So
you're so
then
prepared.
I do a thing called Tea and Inspiration. And sometimes I do that through the artist way. I do it at colleges, I do it at different clubhouses. And it's a weekend where we practice these 8 principles that I discovered worked for me: good food, good water, being in nature, creative self expression, spirituality. And they're called Tea and Inspiration Weekend. So if you'd
I
like
love it.
that,
Yeah.
it's really amazing. Contact me.
Yes, as I want to go to one of those. I actually just went to a tea party it was green tea for St.
Oh,
Patrick's Day. So yes,
sweet
tea and
tea, that's
inspiration.
fantastic.
Well, Claire, thank you so much for being vulnerable and for sharing your story and for sharing your music with us. Before we go, I wanted to ask you just one more question. What advice would you like to give to our viewers that may be going through a difficult time right now?
Do whatever it takes to learn to love and accept yourself. Louise Hay has a book called You Can Heal Your Life. And it's really all about self-esteem, because if you don't love yourself, you're not really going to be able to help anyone. And you can start at any age. It will have tremendous ripple effects. In fact, the older you are, the quickly you'll go through those steps. Find your tribe, the people you can be yourself with. You must find your people, wherever that is, and give. Give of your time, your talent, your treasure. It all comes back to you threefold. Never underestimate the power of nature and animals. They are here for us. And find a creative outlet. Write, dance, draw, play.
So I believe that you said it was eight things that you've learned. If you could send it to me, I can go ahead and include those down in the description below so everybody can view those. Thank you for your time today, Claire, and thank you for watching. This will be sent out in our next newsletter along with more updates, resources, and success stories from NAMI. So be sure to subscribe because everybody likes a good success story. So Claire, again, thank you very much, and I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I hope that I will see you at a tea and inspiration soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.